council meeting, we'll ask Pastor Joey Cullen of Crossroad Church do the invocation, followed by Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Please join me in prayer. Almighty God, we give thanks and praise for your many works and the countless ways that you have blessed our community. You are loving, good, and gracious. Thank you for caring for us, sustaining us each and every day. We thank you for the city and the elected officials who serve here. We also thank you for the businesses, churches, families, and individuals who make our city the great place that it is. We pray that you would continue to help our city flourish and thrive, and for the well-being of every citizen here. We pray that you would help us to be both just and merciful, and that you would help us to care for the needs of all. And we pray now for the leaders in this room. Give them wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on matters that affect our community. May their decisions be guided by a genuine love for their neighbor. Lastly, we ask for unity among our leaders and the ability to listen well to one another so that they might work together effectively for the good of all. Thank you, Lord, for these men and women who have chosen to serve our community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will call this meeting to order. A roll call, please.
Here.
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 Here. Here. Here. Here.
Right, the first item is open forum. If anybody cares to speak to something that's not already on the agenda, if you would care to come forward to the podium, state your name and the city in which you live.
Robin Foss, Fergus Falls. I have a question for Mr. Nickelmo. Where is the dollar amount where the suit with the newspaper is going on? What has been spent of taxpayers' money on that so far?
Nothing's been spent because we haven't billed it, and I just don't know where that billing is at. But it's less than the quoted amount.
Which was 5,000 to 6,000.
Yep.
Okay.
And the status of that matter is there's a pre-trial scheduled for June 23rd, I believe it
Okay.
is, where we will discuss with the judge how the judge wishes to receive testimony and evidence to make a decision.
Okay. And when this came about, I noticed, and the microphones might be an issue too at that time, that you also said there can be countersuit against the city.
We don't envision that happening because we joined forces together and submitted a joint petition with the Daily Journal, primarily so that we could address the question that that they would join in the request with the court, which would, in my opinion, be a joint request before the court and an agreement to facilitate the court to at least get the information to the court, which, in my opinion, alleviates the public from a countersuit from the Daily Journal saying that this was a frivolous action.
Gotcha. What other question I had? Oh, where does this leave us if we don't have a paper to put notifications into in our city?
It would leave us with looking for another legal publication.
In another city?
Yeah, but I mean, currently, if the court comes back and says the Daily Journal is not a legal publication, the Daily Journal could take steps to comply and become a legal publication, or we would have to look elsewhere.
Okay. How many other cities have looked elsewhere?
Well, I mean, in our county, Battle Lake is a legal publication.
I mean, how many have gone out to have to look for other places to publicize or put a publication in for notices to other cities because they've ran into this problem?
That I don't know.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, but
No,
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know that.
okay. And another,
They use Roseau.
Yeah.
Warroad, up in Warroad, they don't have a newspaper there. They use Roseau County.
but they don't have a newspaper
They don't
like
have
we
a
have a
newspaper.
newspaper.
Yep.
Yeah. And just, thank you, Mr. Nickelmo, to clear that up. Last week's meeting, I just want to commend city staff and the administrator for what they do. I see that you guys are very competent, and it really upsets me when I see a council member going after our city staff. They work hard. I've watched for months, many meetings, and I cannot believe the turnabout attacks on staff and city administration. It's below decency. And I talked about the code of ethics last time. And I'm just wondering if I could get a copy of the oath that everybody takes when they go into office. And also, do they sign a code of ethics? And is it followed? I do not see it being followed by some city council members. In fact, just the opposite from what I read on there. So I'm asking that you as mayor take action on these behaviors that are happening against city staff, administration, in behaviors and turnaboutisms and turnabout blames when things don't go a certain way for some city council members. So I'm here to stand up for the staff and the administration. I have seen how competent they are, and we are very fortunate to have them in this city. And I don't like to see them going through the angst and just trying to do their job, and then more people putting on expectations on them away from this body, expecting them to come up with numbers and everything else. Is that the role of city council members as a single person, expecting numbers, job descriptions? We're not Doge. Sorry. We can't, all of our staff members, administration, and people are important to the function of this city. So I just wanted to point this out, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Dwayne Cookman, Mayor, Council. I had a couple clarifications. I kind of watched the meeting of the whole and about the engineering issue. And I think it was brought up, I think Andrew, I don't know if you alluded to it, but I thought I heard that we couldn't get a PE, would have to get right out of school. That, for an engineering to get a PE, they have to work out in industry for 4 years under a licensed PE before they can even take the test. A prerequisite to that test is the engineering and training that you can still do if you go to a certified school. So it can't be somebody right out of school unless they went back into school after working in the private sector. It was also brought up, the money savings. I heard the figure of 400,000.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's on the agenda, Dwayne, so do you want to speak to it then?
When I get time, yes.
Yeah. Okay, no problem, thanks. Anybody else? If not, we will move on to the first item on the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda.
I'll offer that.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you, Laurel. Thank you, Jim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, same sign. Hearing none, the agenda is approved. There are no public hearings this evening. The awarding of bids, a resolution awarding the bid for PI 5381, the 2025 mill and overlay projects to Mark Lee Asphalt and Paving in the amount of $242,913.60. And Tyson, I think, will speak to that. First thing is, could we have somebody offer the resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Would somebody care to second it?
I'll second.
Thank you, Scott. Over to Tyson.
All right. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in your packet is a recommendation for PI 5381, the 2025 mill and overlay improvements. May 25th, we opened bids for the project. We received 4 bids. The low bid was from Mark Lee Asphalt and Paving out of Alexandria in the amount of $242,913.60. This was under the engineer's estimate for construction of $285,475. There is an itemized bid tabulation that's included with this that shows all of the bidders and their respective bids. The total estimated cost for this project, to include construction and miscellaneous costs, is $294,058.60. And this is under the total estimated amount of $335,200 that was levied for the project, or budgeted for the project. So with that, if there's any questions.
I have one, Your Honor. Being that we're coming in, bids were favorable, clearly, which we've seen this year. Can we, I know we can't do it in this bid round, but can we add any streets to this within that ward to use the rest of that money that's budgeted? Or what is the take on that by staff?
Yes, I believe, and Tyson, correct me if I'm wrong, this one probably isn't on anyway. We can add through a change order when we kind of get rolling on it and see, okay, if things look good, you can do so much of a percentage. Is it up to 25% add-on?
25% of the construction
Okay.
cost we can add via
Yeah.
change order.
And we've done that oftentimes with exactly these scenarios to get the most bang for the buck, so.
Any other questions?
Your Honor. Tyson, thank you for your time. What's the distance of this mill and overlay?
Off the top of my head, I don't have a distance. I don't know the exact quantity of the improvement that we're doing.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to put it into square foot or tons either, so I'm just trying to figure out, mill and overlay by the block, by the foot, by the mile, moving forward into the budget for '26.
I think it's a little over a mile. I think it got sent out to council on an email the other couple of weeks ago.
I probably sent it out.
I think,
Do you think I remember off the top of my head? I do not, but I remember sending something on that.
I think this one was like a mile and 1.07, something like that. And then there was and then
And
the
then
seal coat
coats, was that? Maybe,
that was,
It was higher.
yeah.
0.78 miles. That was
Are you finding it, Laura?
As they're looking, Tyson, is there any lead under this area, or is this a newer part of town?
With respect to lead service lines, you mean?
Yes.
That I'm not aware of, if there's actually lead service. If there is, all the service lines are actually being documented through the lead service line inventory now. So we'll have that information as we move forward. But they're still going home to home and putting together the documentation for that actual inventory.
In clarification, if there is lead, does that come off the main, or is there steel going to the shut-off and then it's lead to the house?
It could be both. So
Okay.
we could have lead underneath the road, and it could be to the property line, and we could have differing materials between what's in the right-of-way and what's in private property as well.
I would like to see if there's a tremendous amount of lead here. I don't want to put a mill and overlay on a road that in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on what the state says, that has to be dug up.
Sure.
If there's 1 or 2 services, it's not a big deal. But if there's, I don't know how many homes are on this 1 mile lot.
It's all residential, so it's going to be quite a few homes.
Yep. And I know, Guy, you've given me a website before to look at. I can't find it again.
And I can look at it and see how many we actually have in that area. It has all been inventoried in that section.
And if that be the case, let's say I'm going to exaggerate now, every one of those people have a lead line under the road. What would your suggestion be?
Well, given where we're at today, if lead service lines are in there. There's going to be funding that's going to be coming forward probably in the next year, 2 years. That's going to start, once we get through the inventory process, then they're going to come out with mitigation dollars. And once the mitigation dollars come out, then it'll basically be to go in and do those replacements. And so when the timing comes and the money's available, we're going to want to capitalize on that to make those replacements while there's funding available versus trying to wait and potentially there won't be future funding. So if there's lead there and we can get funding for it, we're going to want to replace it.
Yeah, but I don't want to do it under a new mill and overlay. My only question would be then in the future, that when we do decide these locations for mill and overlay, that we avoid the heavy lead area. I don't know how that specific track of road was chosen.
Yeah, this was for how they determined this specific project. I apologize a little bit. This was in works before, and I don't know the exact philosophy as to how this stretch got decided.
I urge the council to be
Guy,
aware
I
of
have
it.
a question. Do we have any main lines that are lead?
No mains.
Okay, there's no main, so it's everything going off our main that would be lead.
Right.
So it's into the property line, or is it in the middle of the road where they have to come out to our main?
Yeah, they would, in some cases, have to come to the main, because
Okay.
the portion that's in the street from the main to the stop box, there's a lot of those that are lead
Okay.
that we own. And looking now, sorry, I was looking at the seal coat project, the map for the overlay, that's such a new development, there will be no lead in that.
And I appreciate that. That's why I was asking. If this is a newer section, it's not being any lead there.
Any other questions of Troy?
Your Honor, I think I have just one. Tyson, it's nice to meet you. Nice to see you here today. I appreciate that very much. When you talked about funding for those lead pipes coming through grants or different things, will that encompass then that the whole road can be fixed at that time with that funding, or how does it work?
No, traditionally, no. It would be costs associated with I mean, you could get some of the street improvements potentially with it, but just the associated portion of the actual area that it takes to replace the service. So if we have to dig a 10-foot trench up to get out to the main line in order to replace that, there'd be the potential for grant funding to participate in those road improvements. But it wouldn't be beyond that.
Wouldn't be beyond that. Wouldn't be the whole stretch and different things like that. So, and Mr. Layton brings up a unique point. So you could do kind of a seal coat mill and overlay, and then this thing could come through next year, and you're saying let's hit it. You could actually end up, it was for naught. Is that correct?
Potentially, yeah.
It could.
Yes.
I mean, it might not, but it could.
Yeah, and from what Guy is saying,
This one's good.
This area should be good.
Good.
Any other questions of Tyson? If not, then roll call.
Rachel's.
Yes.
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 All right. The resolution is approved. The next item is a resolution awarding the bid for PI 5382, the 2025 Seal Coat project to Asphalt Preservation Company in the amount of $94,886.78. And again, over to Tyson will address that if we can get a resolution.
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Laurel.
I'll second.
Thank you, Scott. With that, any questions of Tyson?
Same ones, Tyson. Do we have a distance?
Not on the. I don't have it on the seal code. It's a considerably larger area.
It was about 3 miles. Again, it got sent out. I think Matt sent it out, or did you send it out? Yeah. Right.
And then how about lead? I know this is not as an important.
Yeah, there will be lead in this area.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Guy.
There will be lead in this area, for sure.
There will or will not?
There is, yeah.
Like how many?
I can look at it.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
And I can appreciate that.
I'll look at it and get you the
But the mill and overlay is much cheaper. Pardon me.
Yeah, considerably cheaper. And one thing we can look at too is as a part of the project is if we have a block or so that are heavy lead, we can go in and look and omit those blocks so that we're not throwing good money after bad. and we can get a gauge on whether or not, what the timing we think is going to be with respect to potential funding coming through and what the estimated timeline of improvement would be. So we'll pull the inventories and look what's within the right of way, and we can make adjustments as necessary.
Scott?
Similar comment to what Laurel made in the first question. This one also is significantly underbid, so we should be able to add more to this one as well. Correct?
Yes.
That'd be great.
We did actually have a legislative committee meeting this afternoon and met with Senator Rasmussen, who talked about the funding, and obviously some of that is up in the air because a large portion of that would be federal dollars, and so the state obviously would is a somewhat of a pass through, so he is cognizant and aware of it, and will keep us informed. When the monies become available. And he did say that actually outer Minnesota is generally, it seems, has a higher percentage of lead service than, the metro areas. And that we should be Johnny on the spot in making applications when the funding does come through, because he doesn't believe it will be sufficient to do everything.
Yeah,
On a final, go ahead. Okay. On a final note, I've heard this council in the past say that, well, we can't wait because it's going to be more expensive next year. Well, we're finding it's less expensive today. I talked to before about this. Bituminous has come down. Next year, I anticipate oil prices to be the same, lower. I think these monies are going to get cheaper as we move forward in the next year or two. Thank you.
With that, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 There are, the resolution is approved. There are no petitions and communications. There are 8 items on the consent agenda. A motion approving the open and closed minutes from May 19, 2025 City Council meeting and the May 28, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting. Motion approving licenses. Resolution accepting donations for the Fergus Falls Fire Department. Resolution declaring Unit 2097 a police squad car as surplus equipment and authorizing its disposal. A motion directing the city attorney to draft an amendment to City Code 91.52 chicken permits. A motion directing the city attorney to draft amendments to City Code 34.02 public safety. A resolution authorizing the use of statewide affordable housing aid funds for the acquisition of 801 West Stanton Avenue, and a resolution approving the Otter Express Public Transportation Joint Powers Agreement. Would somebody care to make that resolution?
I'll offer that, John.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Laura. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution accepting the 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. And I could call maybe Bill, do you want to just say a couple of words about it? Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had a council work session at 4:30 where our partner from Bergen KDV presented the audit report results to you as a city council. Tonight we're here just asking that you accept that audit report. We do have a clean opinion in the audit report. That's very important. We always want to maintain that. And so that's good news that we're in good shape that way. So just looking for you to accept that audit report.
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Scott.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mark. Roll call.
Yes.
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 On behalf of the accounting team, I appreciate their work. I've expressed that during the work session. I
It's a
approve it.
yes or no at this point.
I meant yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, the resolution is approved. Thank you. Now, Mark, would you want to thank them?
I think I made my point. I've always stood behind that staff. The audit is great. They do a wonderful job. I'm very familiar with
The
audits.
next item on the agenda is the first reading of Ordinance 67, 8th Series, amending 91.52 chicken permits. If somebody would care to offer that.
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Laurel. That's all we need to do. The next item is first reading of Ordinance 68, 8th Series, Police Department. Would somebody care to offer that?
Offer it.
Thank you, Scott. The next item on the agenda is a resolution approving an interim use permit for cannabis retail sales in the B3 zone located at 123 East Lincoln, as requested by Sugar High Cannabis Consulting and Dispensary, LLC, and a recommendation by the Planning Commission, and I will call upon Clara. Back.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. This is a recommendation coming to you from the Planning Commission. They had their meeting last Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. And at that meeting, they discussed an interim use permit for 123 East Lincoln Avenue. This request is similar to previous IUPs that you've seen before you, so I didn't do a presentation going through all of the findings of facts of the related to the conditional uses, but the recommendation remains substantially the same from the Planning Commission. They did find that the applicant has met all of the required conditions for an interim use permit, and are recommending the same conditions that were placed on previously approved interim use permits, which would be a 5-year time frame, business hours limited to 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and no consumption on site, including samples. Sugar High did previously receive an IUP for retail cannabis sales at 112 East Washington, so this is a different location. But this is actually taking them back to their original location, which during discussions with the council seemed preferable. It turns out also that it just makes more sense for them from a state permitting standpoint. It's less work done on the interior of the building for them to move back to their original location. So I did perform the zoning review that would have gotten the IUP in front of Planning Commission in the first place. Lynn, do you have there's a picture in there. I just want to maybe go over the location quickly. Yep, so this is the buffer map showing 250 feet around the parcel. You will note that it is in this area, in the 250 feet, there is no overlap with any churches, daycares, parks with attractions for minors, or other cannabis retailers. So the final recommendation is in front of you now. I will maybe mention that the previous IUP that was approved for 112 East Washington Avenue, an IUP is similar to a conditional use in that it runs with the land itself. It's not tied to a specific applicant or business. So that permit still does stand there. However, if anyone were to attempt to use that permit, they would have to go through the state licensing process and the city's registration process before they could operate. So there's not anything out there that would say that they could immediately begin operations. They would have to continue to go through the same steps that our local businesses are going through currently. So I'm happy to answer any questions about this request for you.
Would somebody care to make that?
I'll offer it.
Thank you, Jim. Somebody care to second it?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Laura. Any questions of Clara? Mike?
I'm not so sure, Your Honor, if it's a question of Ms. Beck or not, but I'm going to be in support of this tonight. But I would like to see the process of what it takes to get 112 East Washington so-called off the books. Is that a process that the owner of that property has to do? Is that a process that the city council can do?
I think
My suggestion is that if you're inclined to approve this request, that you seek the applicant and property owner's request to rescind the IUP on the 112 East Washington site.
Or since it's granted, could council just
Well, I
do
think,
it.
I think the property owner and the applicant should weigh in on that request. Because currently the applicant has a place to do this business. The applicant's actually now asking to do this business elsewhere. And so it's a question that I think is a fair question of what the applicant and property owner seek. This spot or the other spot.
Rolf, could that be approved tonight with a condition that that takes place?
I assume the applicant and property owner are here.
see
I mean,
nodding.
are you making a request that if this is approved, that the application for 112 East Washington be rescinded? Okay. Then we can basically approve the conditional use permit with the additional condition that the application for 112 East Washington is rescinded.
Any other questions?
And I assume that the people that made the motion and seconded would want
Yes.
that
Yes.
condition
Yep.
included?
Absolutely.
Okay, so then we're good.
Scott?
I just wanted to make a comment, and it's consistent with what we've said before. I'll be supporting this tonight, but it's because in this case, this was what we expected was going to happen when the committee was putting all this together last year. We expected that this was going to be the location. We expected that after all this got hashed out, this is what we would end up with. As has been said by several of the members of the council, none of us wanted to be here and none of us wanted this in the first place, but given that, this is where we're at. But a couple of things I just wanted to point out as far as how this process moves through the Planning Commission, there's a couple of questions in there that in my view are subjective. For example, the first question says, this will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare of the neighborhood or city. I think the case could be made that it would be detrimental to the general welfare. There's plenty of evidence for that in other states. Another one of the questions reads, will not involve uses, activities, processes, blah, 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 will not be detrimental to the general welfare because of traffic noise, smoke, fumes, and odors. We've had a lot of conversation about odors, and those kinds of activities could be seen as detrimental. So with those kind of suggested questions in the application, it really comes down to us to choose to, feel this way or that about it. And I think that people just need to understand how that played out. That's it.
Thank you. With that,
Your Honor.
Mike? Yes.
Go ahead, Mike, go ahead.
Your Honor, I just have a question. In the application, or Ms. Beck, I can ask you as well. In the application process, the applicant put some comments after their signatures on there in regards to myself as a council member. Do we have the ability to redact that? I don't look at it as nefarious or anything against me. I looked at it as explanation. But one of the things is this application will probably leave us. It could go to the state. It could be looked at by others. And it had a council member's comments, prior comments on the application. So I want some clarification either from Mr. Nicomo, Mr. Bremseth, or others that even just me, if it's any council member and they're in that application, that's kind of different than what I've seen. And again, I don't think the applicant was trying to do anything negative. I just have a question about that.
Applicant, are you fine with that being redacted from your application? References to Mr. Mortensen? Consider it redacted.
Thank you.
If the only things were that simple. Mark?
Is this a new name?
Nope.
It's the same owners?
Yep.
And who are the owners? I hear mixed emotions, sometimes different stories that I own it, we own it, she owns it. So is it a 50-50? What is it?
It's been the same all along. She owns 60, I own 40.
Help me, what did you say?
60-40.
Okay, thank you.
Miss McCune owning 60 and Miss Sonmore at 40.
Okay. I too am in favor of this tonight. And like Mr. Mortensen says, and as we've heard earlier, this council is the deciding factor. It's not the committee, it's not the administrator, it's not the mayor. We have steps to follow, and we follow them. And this has been a hot topic, both on the TV and the radio. Some of the division of the House is proven to be looked at as negative, and I apologize that you feel that way. I just hope moving forward we have a little bit more positive approach to this new council, because we're going to ask these questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Al?
I think I had made a comment, I believe, over a year ago, is that the comment was, when we stop talking and communicating, bad things happen. This is a perfect example where we kept on communicating. So, you know, tough questions, they come up for everybody. And that's what, I guess I'm proud of that fact, that it could be coming back and forth. That's what it's meant to be. It's meant to have a discussion. It's meant to talk about these things, and people can bring things forward. I think it worked out, and I'm very proud of that fact, that I believe everybody's on board with this right now.
Thank you. With that, roll call.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution approving the conditional use permit for a pylon sign in a B3 zone located at 226 East Lincoln Avenue, as requested by FM Bank and recommended by the Planning Commission. Again, over to Clara.
Thank you. This is the final recommendation from Planning Commission tonight. The request is that this council provide final approval of a conditional use permit for a pylon sign in a B3 zone. You may recall that fairly recently council clarified that pylon signs are an allowable use in the B2 and B3 zones. Before, our code was a little wishy-washy about where their placement could be. So that's why this request is in front of you tonight. This was the former Shopco location being redeveloped into a bank building with multiple other tenants. And as part of their site design, they've included a pylon sign. The rest of their signage has already been approved. This approval is waiting for this council's final approval tonight. One of the questions that was raised during the public hearing for the conditional use permit was, is there a possibility that the side of the pylon sign, because it's going to be a decorative base to it, could that potentially impact visuals when people are exiting the parking lot? So I did do a site visit on Friday and got a piece of plywood that I think is substantially the same size that the base of the sign is going to be, and placed it where the conduit for the sign is. And in my review, I think that this means that the visuals are clear, and when the conditional use permit is approved, I will be supplying the applicant with a sign permit as well. So that is that's this request. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Would somebody care to make the resolution?
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Jim. Would somebody care to second it?
I'll second.
Thank you, Scott. With that, any questions of Clara?
Yeah, Mrs. Beck, I'll be abstaining from the decision today, but I had a question on the demand to combine the two parcels together. Can you explain that? Is that, I guess I'm looking for the ordinance, I'm looking for the ruling on that to make that happen or demand that of this business.
Yeah, demand's a little bit of a strong word. I mean, it's been a conversation with the business or with the landowner, but our zoning code, when it comes to the parking section, does say that the parking facilities need to be on the same site as the building. So those two currently are separate. We've been treating them as one site throughout the rest of the project, but it just felt like the timing was right to maybe say, let's combine these parcels. In discussion with the building owner, I mean, if you don't want that condition, that's fine. They are going to be replatting, so they will be combining those parcels regardless and then changing some other parcel lines there. So it's up to council. If you agree with the condition, fine, they will combine the parcels. If not, they'll come forward with a replat in the future.
So it's not hard stone ordinance, law, code, nothing like that. It's more of an ask to try to work with it.
Yep. Yeah. It's easier from a from the city and the county standpoint with record keeping that the address is therefore related to both of those parcels. Currently, one of the parcels is unaddressed. So it's just ease of record keeping and complying with our code.
There's two things that I worry about, and I'm not saying that this is occurring by you tonight, but I look at an overreach from city government to a property owner just to get a sign, and that gives me some pause a little bit to do that. So I wouldn't be in favor, because if it sets the precedence for all the signage in the future and we run into this and someone gets denied a sign or something on that order where the council says, hey, we did this, that would give me some pause as well. So I'm looking out more from a business standpoint here.
And the reason it's attached to the sign permit that we're looking at right now is because the sign is on that separate parcel that's not addressed.
Yeah.
So this would tie it all together onto one site.
Yeah. I'll let the council decide what they think.
I have questions that are similar to Mr. Mortenson's. I had a party reach out to me that has a property that has multiple parcels with some have different ownership, I guess would be fair to say, and concerned about precedent setting because of this. If it's not a life or death situation, from this perspective, they're willing to do it, it sounds like, and that's wonderful. I guess my question would be to Mr. Nicolomo is if we are dealing with different parcel ownership and things like that where it doesn't work for the business, we're not setting precedent by doing this in this case?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's each application before you is different.
Right.
And can be treated differently.
Okay.
I would agree with Mr. Mortensen. If I buy a piece of property, I may want to put it in trust in one for one child, a trust for the other one for another child, or another beneficiary. I own my property. I want to do what I want. I would like to see it not part of the, if you will, this agreement. But again, if the owners of this land is comfortable with it, we don't set a precedence, I'm fine. I just think of it a little bit of a nanny approach to this. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? If not, roll call.
Yes.
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 Abstain.
The resolution is approved. The,
Mr. Mayor.
oh,
Sorry about that.
yep.
I noticed online that sales tax is paid by businesses for the modular or the double-poled signing. Now, but there's no city sales tax, or there's no city tax on such signs. So looking this up is they pay sales tax on the materials. But there is, to be noted for the city, it is a structure. That's what I'm trying to get at. If it is a structure, and especially if electrical wire is dug across city property or dug in to illuminate the sign, it should be labeled as a structure. Now, a residential place can't put up a sign, of course, for a business, but I would like to see that looked into for potential tax dollars, and it listed as a structure. I noticed online that cities can make determinations like that, so you could check into that. It looks like it's up to each individual city, but I believe they should be named as structures since they're taking space. There's cement poured, poles put into the ground, and electricity up to them. So what determines what is a structure? And so that is in place, and then to make sure there's so many feet away from major crossroads, not by AI, but by actual physical measurement by maybe the state of Minnesota or a county road, that entity, to make sure that they are following all procedures. So I want to have the I would like to see the council look into those named as a structure because they are put in the ground, because there is electricity put to them. So for taxable means as a structure. So to look into it.
I think we gotta look into it. I mean, I'm assuming, what you're saying is so that, like, the sign gets included in the property tax valuation.
Well, so that it's taking space. It is a structure, okay? Look into those things. Right now, business owners only have to pay sales tax on the materials that they put in. But it's not designated that necessarily they pay city taxes. And so I'm looking at to determine that it is a structure. And so there's some tax money that can be gotten for the city also and maybe designated toward the Aqua Center. I mean, I don't know, you know. So that was my thoughts on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I think one thing about that, if they're going to put that on property taxes, it's not only the city that's going to get paid, it's going to be the school district and the county also. It isn't just city.
Do you have any?
When a company buys a sign, it becomes an asset, just like if they were putting a new roof on their building or putting a new display case inside their building. So in that way, it increases their property value and it increases their taxes.
Yeah, that's more of a county issue.
What if it's not on a building site, if it's freestanding?
We can address that.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yep. I won't call, I'm sorry, Andrew, I won't call out Mr. Sullivan, but that's more of a county assessment. They're going to, regardless of the building, if it's 2 foot square or 200 foot square.
Building, we're talking about freestanding.
But the sign will be, yes, ma'am.
Mark, let's move on. Resolution
thank you.
approving and entering into a master agreement and task order number 1 with More Engineering.
I'll offer that.
Thank you.
I'll second, I guess. Might as well get it going.
Thank you, Scott. Andrew?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Council members, we went over this in good detail last Wednesday at the Committee of the Whole meeting, so I will spare some of that. But essentially what we're looking at is outsourcing the work of the engineering department to More Engineering, who's a local engineering firm who has proposed to do this work at a monthly fee of $16,000 per month, which comes out to $192,000 a year on the general engineering side of things. We currently are paying just over $633,000 for these services, so it would be an annual savings on the general engineering side of things, just north of $440,000 a year. And then we mentioned too, on the project side of the world, they would do projects at a flat fee of 15% per project. The way we do things today, we see anywhere between 20 to 25% of a project, in some cases up to 35%. We used one project as an example last week where we would have seen about $745,000 in savings on engineering for one project alone. So the proposal before you is to cement that partnership with More Engineering for a period of 10 years with outs, of course, if performance or other things are not up to snuff for the city. And we can accomplish that this evening through a resolution, Your Honor.
Thank you. And there is a number of resolutions regarding this and the, obviously, employees after that. Any discussion?
Your Honor, I'd like to have some discussion, which I appreciate very much on that end. I want to start this off by letting the community council know, everybody know that when I sit on this council, I'm here to make this city better. I'm here to look at all options that there is for the community, for the people involved and stuff like that. And so one of the things that I'm going to do today is I used the words flawed and discriminating last time, and that upset Mr. Bremseth, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to use the word concerning and unfair today. And I'll explain why. I'm not saying that that's was done by the city administration or the people involved in the planning of this. I just think the overall process was that. What I'm looking for this community is I would have liked to have seen a broader use of an RFP process for this scenario. And the reason for that is this thing went from looking for a city engineer to then employees to a whole engineering firm. And I think this thing had great intentions in the beginning with the personnel committee, with what they were doing, but I think this thing morphed into something much bigger. And what I would have liked to have seen is the ability for us to do, and the community should know, proposals from other engineering companies to do that. I think we could have done that without undermining anything that Moore has done. I think we could have done that in honoring some of the other engineering firms in the city. And I think we could have done it by honoring the community and what we were doing. Legally, the city does not have to go through and do an RFP for engineering work, but based off of the state with different things, this exemption exists because such services are selected based on specialized expertise and professional judgment rather than just cost alone. And it says that many Minnesota cities choose to issue a request for proposals, RFP, to evaluate their vendors, qualifications, experience, and project approach. And I think that would have been something that would have been a great benefit to the council. It would have been a great benefit to me to be able to go through that process with it. One of the other things, and I appreciate you allowing me to talk, Mr. Mayor, one of the other things that an RFP would have done for our community, it would have increased the transparency and public confidence for our community. And I think that's important at all times. The other thing it would have done, it would have allowed selection based on qualifications and value. There was many things that I think Interstate Engineering brings to the table, Bolton Mink brings to the table, along with more, that it would have been really nice to evaluate the pros and cons of both of those individuals with that. So one of the things that concerns me the most is transparency of what was going on here. So in using an RFP, it demonstrates our commitment to openness and fairness in spending public funds. And it helps dispel concerns about favoritism and closed-door decision-making. I'm not saying that that's what this group did at all, but I'm saying the perception can come to that. Even as a council member, I can have that perception. I think one of the main things this city needs to realize, and the constituents is that we are a government entity. We are a government entity that has public funds, and this process, as we went through it, we only had one candidate to give those funds to. And that can lead to favoritism and bias. I'm not saying it was, but it can. And so when people call me on the phone after Wednesday and they say, hey, how the heck did we go from losing an engineer to a whole new engineering company? I think that process of an RFP would have really assisted us in doing that. One of the things that I bring in, the reason I was elected, is my experience in different avenues. And one of those was a hospital board and a university board. If our president of that board and the provost of the university or the hospital had brought this to us as a board at this level down the tracks, there's no way our board would have been able to commit with this. I really would like to see in the future, and the reason I'm bringing this up tonight, is for us to consider an RFP policy, something that can guide us more as we go forward. Because one of the other things, and I'm just about done, Your Honor, one of the things that's so important in that RFP process that goes through is, one, we get to meet who the individuals are. I get to meet who Moore Engineering is. And in fact, many, many communities, and Moore is aware of this, I met with them just a little bit earlier and congratulated them on being the engineers of the community, is many communities will do an RFP and then they will have the different engineering entities come in front of them to answer questions. I would have liked that as a council member. I would have liked that as a citizen to be able to have done that in this process. And that's why I used some of the words earlier on of unfair or this. One of the other things, and then I'll be done, is that RFP process, when we're discussing things with the different engineering groups, that can also be a time for this council to be able to negotiate or change some of the things that's in their proposal. And we really didn't get a chance to do that. And so what I'm asking, Your Honor, is I'm sure this process will go through tonight, but I will be looking to make a motion after it is awarded that'll have some basis with the RFPs. And I appreciate the time you gave me overtime with it, and appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm going to approach this as I was voted in on strictly a budget. That's my heartburn. I too am supportive of more, but I would have been equally supportive of interstate. As a council member, I did not hear how the $16,000 a month was weighted on. Andrew says it's a flat 15%. Well, I assume that flat 15% on the job was of the awarding bid. But that 15% can easily turn into 20% if you have 5 bids, and we're working off $1 million bids, and there was 5 other ones at $2 million. I would like to see more information on their primary responsibilities to the city in regards to sidewalks, roads, lead. I indicate too that they've got a nice insurance package, but I don't know if there's errors and omissions in that policy. They talk about supporting the benefits and protection of the council members. I don't know if that covers each council member who voted yes in favor of this, or any other contract that they take. I read the agreement, and I don't understand. We said this was a 10-year program, but it can be, if you will, anniversaried on an annual basis. I didn't read the termination language. On behalf of my fellow councilperson Kwame, I'm looking at page 532, 2.3.5. I would ask that diversity and other social responsibility requirements be scratched. And again, not knowing how these responsibilities are laid out, because I'm not an engineer, what the day-to-day operations is versus what it is on a specific project. So on the average acceptable bid, that 15% can easily turn into 20. So I don't know if I've made any sense to people who have not read this agreement. I look forward to working with more. I've worked with them professionally in the past on other projects that we're involved with, my personal businesses. So just a few questions that would have been easily handled publicly and clarified the issue. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I have a couple things.
Yep.
Is that okay? Okay. Thank you both for your comments tonight. This was not taken lightly, and I think you've acknowledged that, and I think the committee appreciates that. In regards to transparency and perception of closed-door decisions, to some extent, it's important for the public to know our hands were tied. We have employees involved that were part of unions, and there is a union process. We couldn't come to an open meeting and have this conversation. That being said, 2 of the 3 engineering firms that have done work for the city on a regular basis did choose to put in a proposal. Both of them were evaluated. The third, Interstate, was part of conversation with our city administrator, council members, and chose not to, and wrote a letter that was included in last week's packet. None of these are better than any other option necessarily, but the one that came to the top as the most able to serve the city in the best way, based on the proposals that were submitted, was more engineering. And the idea that there wasn't negotiation is this $16,000 a month number is more than $5,000 a month less than what the original proposal was. And the original proposal would have cost the city more, so there was negotiation. There is E&O insurance. This has been evaluated the agreement has been evaluated by the city attorney. We do have outs that the committee was comfortable with. And I'm not against RFPs, but I think it's important for the public to know that RFPs for professional services can also tie our hands. They're not binding because of dollars, which is true, but yet they are binding based on responsibilities. And city engineering is a very broad scope, and we would have to have written an RFP that covered everything. And then anything that wasn't in that RFP, in essence, we would have been nickeled and dimed for, because that RFP is what is written. And so by avoiding the RFP process, we're actually saving this community money. And I think that's an important thing to remember, because you can't write an all-encompassing how to replace a department in an RFP and cover yourself. And so the idea that an RFP wasn't considered by this group isn't accurate, and it was. And I think it's important to have an RFP. If we have an RFP policy, one size doesn't fit all, and in some cases, it's better for the citizens not to. So I don't know if I covered.
No, thank you. Dwayne.
Mayor, Council, this is one of the things that I wanted to choose. What I challenge, Councilman Arnold, what you're stating. Here's where my position is. I'm an engineer, I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm not a civil engineer. I couldn't get my PE because I didn't practice under a PE. Mechanics, there's not too many practicing PEs from the mechanical side. A lot of them are civil. But in my job, it's up my duties to come up with the concept, write the statement of work. It's exactly what you're saying. But who are you going to have that's competent now? Because you're going to rely upon more to do this, the statement of work. They should have had examples for you if you had asked. Okay? Because you're going to need statements of work for any RFP defining that. Otherwise, you have change orders. Change orders are expensive. We just kind of went through this with De Lagoon, and they come up, we had a scaling, and I'm just like, I challenge that. I go, if there's one dimension on that print, CAD does not scale down in the text. It's 1-to-1, and it automatically, you put one dimension on there, and it's there. I'm in charge of concepts, selling them, putting them to assemblies, part prints, and installing it. What is the price tag on skill sets? You cannot farm out everything. I believe, I would strongly suggest we keep our engineering. The basis of where I'm coming from, I grew up right next to Don Ronning. And they go, who's Don Ronning? In the 70s, he was your city engineer. I helped him do surveying. I asked questions. I watched him. He did the prints of the streets and the curbs and the calculations, okay? I don't see that our engineering team does that, but I think we need to come to that. Once you turn that corner, you're talking about saving $400,000. You flip it to the other side, you're saving a lots of money. With the programs they have right now in CAD, it's plug and play. Just pick it, put it in. You want a sidewalk, you want this, you want an overlay. Invest in your people. Invest in your skill sets, don't farm it out. When I do automation and I do a robotics project, they said, no, you got to go as, only integrators do that. I am that integrator because I was curious and I wanted to do it. I can do it for a quarter of the price. And I train my people alongside of it so they can fix it. My example is I work for Continental, big global company, okay? A lot of their manufacturing, they gobbled up and they took care of the maintenance. They just, maintenance departments, they call outside. When they have unscheduled downtime, you're talking weeks or a month. We have an excellent maintenance plan and manufacturing that within minutes we have people there, we can troubleshoot, And I think we need to do that here. I want to bring those roads back in-house. Don't farm it out. You want to make some money? You want to save money? You said the $400,000 you can save. I challenge you. If you didn't put the TIF on Sunset Apartments, that's $600,000. So let's start being fiscally responsible, because I think most of you wanted to do that. When in January and they said, what do you want to do? Okay. Now it's time. Let's see that vote. Let's get an RFP. Let's get a statement of work. Who's going to challenge that group from Moore? Who's going to ask the right questions? Who's going to lead them? Is it only by the dollar amount? Where did your dollars come from for the amount that you just had for this mill and overlay? Who made those? Who presented those? Where's the paperwork? Where's the calculation? Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Robin?
I think we went through this before with the art down at the library about striking words or deleting words. I think that should be just totally ignored. That's a political bombshell. And it is political, so it's pertaining to engineering, for crying out loud. Thank you.
And any other comments? Alex?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I just want to say, largely in response to Councilmember Kildy's comments, Interstate Engineering did choose not to submit a proposal. The reason for that is that we didn't feel that we could put together a proposal that could be fairly evaluated against the other proposals. By the time we were made aware of this process, the Personnel Committee had numerous meetings with more negotiating prices, negotiating scopes. We had no clue what the scope of work would look like. To try to put together a competing proposal just wasn't in our best interest. I believe the comment Mr. Bremseth made to us was, well, you'd really have to wow us at this point. So we really felt at a disadvantage there. And for somebody who's worked in this town for over 20 years, I guess I was disappointed by that. I would have liked to see Interstate get a fair shot at this thing. To further prove the point, if you look at the two proposals from Moore and Bolton and Mike, they're not comparable. Not only the prices are different, but the scope of work is different. So you're evaluating on price when you're not even getting the same services. I'm certainly not bad-mouthing Moore. I know these guys, they're good engineers, but like I said, we sure would have wanted it. The only reason we didn't submit one is because we didn't think we would get a fair shot. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have a question. This is more for Kyle Meyer from, we met the other day. And we had an issue a couple meetings ago with the D Lagoon project where the engineering firm came here and asked for $137,000 of the taxpayer money. And it had absolutely nothing to do with the city of Fergus Falls, any staff here, any people of this city. It had to do with, it was a wrong scale that they had given the electrical contractor who was their sub. It was wrong. It was $137,000 off. And, you know, I really was taken back by that. Why should we have to pay for something? That's the E&O stuff where it comes into play, and I'm sure you guys have that. But I just want to make sure, what would you have done? This is a real-time type of scenario here. What would you have done if you would have found that out in December and it was presented in May?
Well, first of all, anytime there's any type of error that we have, it's something we take care of immediately. I mean, I am the type of person, anytime there's an issue, it drives me crazy that's out there, so I want it resolved as soon as possible. And with regards to that, I mean, making those types of decisions from an engineering company, our goal is to be your engineer forever. And we're going to make our decisions based on that. So if there are issues that we are responsible for, we're going to make decisions so that we get to continue to work in the city of Fergus Falls.
So are you saying would this have come up to the council and said, hey, or would it never even come up? That, I mean, would we have known about it and you would are going to say, you know what, it's our problem, we're going to work this out with our sub?
Every situation's different, but in most cases, yeah, we would try and bring those up to the city staff immediately, anytime there's any type of issue that we need to resolve on a team basis.
I'd have to look at it a little closer, but in the contract that is for the city, and we'll have to really look at that too, but does it say in it that you're not responsible for your subs?
I would have to look into that.
Yeah, I
too,
think we
but
should look at
yeah,
that too a little
the
bit.
subs, I mean, yeah, typically the subs are going to be responsible for their work.
Right.
But, you know, that's a process where it may be we have to take care of that working with them.
Yeah, okay. Just a question, thank you.
Thank you.
To clarify, Mayor, do you want to clarify? The city's not paying that money, just so everyone understands that that's watching this.
We were able to negotiate with Bolton and Menk that 137,000, they were.
I believe they worked that out with their sub, so that was great.
Mike?
Are we allowed to ask Kyle just one more question? I don't want to be out of bounds or out of order. It's something that I think, it's not a gotcha question. I really want to know about the average acceptable bid process, so this community knows this. We've heard a lot about the 15%, margin, and Mr. Bremseth even put it in his letter, 15%, but based off of, he called it a middle bid type thing. Can you explain to us in a community why you will charge us off the acceptable average bid and not just the low bid that is there or the bid that's taken?
I'm going to have to refer to Tyson on that one. I'll basically have this discussion with you. So there's a couple different ways when we looked at what's the fairest way from the community's perspective to, for both parties to approach the contract. And when we looked at 15%, there's a few things that come into this. We put 15% on the project. We also do have up to a 2% increase for basically complexity of various projects, because not everything is even and the same. And what we're looking at are for the basics, for your standard projects, which the majority of projects that are out there are going to be your standard projects. We're looking at a flat rate of 15%. Now, when we talk about that, there's a bunch of different ways we can construe that. It can be, are we going to go 15% and it's going to be on the final closing price of the project? Is it 15% on just on bid and then we call the ball? And what we wanted to do was put enough parameter on it that there wasn't any clarification, and that for the most part the city could budget on that, and that there wouldn't be, the change order and the movement of engineering fees. And so what we proposed was to say, hey, let's ideally throw out the high bid and let's throw out the low bid, and then we'll average the remainder and say we're going to go based on that. And then unless there is a scope change or we add to the project deliberately, or we run into something that is completely unforeseen, then that would be the only time that we would look at modifications to the actual engineering. Because what could happen is there's always 10% contingency, or there's always contingency dollars that are put into a project, right? Well, quantities ebb and flow as you move through a project as well. And we looked at it as if we take the project and we look at the scope of this thing and the scope doesn't change materially, then why would we change the engineering fee associated? And so the reason behind it, and kind of what we discussed is this appeared to be a very favorable position for both the city and for us, and that we could define what the expectations were within the contract. So when we look at a project, we're not, trying to figure out after the fact what one party meant or what the other party meant.
Thank you. With With that, roll call.
Yes.
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 No.
The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution approving a separation agreement with Troy Higgy. I'll call upon Andrew Bramson.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor members. I'm going to talk about all three of these at the same time, if you don't mind, which is the next three items on the agenda. These are the individuals that are impacted by the decision that we just made. And as I mentioned on Wednesday, the hardest part of this type of a conversation is the impact on the employees that are impacted by those decisions. And so to thank these employees, to honor their years of service to the city, and to wish them well, the Personnel Committee gave me the ability to negotiate separation, or severance is probably a more common term, agreements with these three impacted employees. Those agreements are within your packet this evening, and the terms are relatively the same for each of them. We're offering them a lump sum payment of 4 months' worth of wages, a lump sum payment equal to 4 months of the current single health insurance contribution, and then we've indicated the number of hours of vacation time and sick time that they are to be paid out as well. Those, of course, vary by employee based on what balances that they had. And in one case, one of the employees is a veteran, so he has his paid differently because of the programs that he as an employee participates in. So all of these employees, or all of these agreements were negotiated with the employees, their union representatives, the union legal counsel. Everybody feels like these are fair deals. And spoken with all of these individuals as today was their last day with the city, and all of them urged and again expressed their support for these and hope to see these approved this evening by the city council.
With that, would somebody care to make a resolution for we need 3 resolutions, so if somebody would care to make that.
I'll offer the first one.
Thank you, Jim. Would somebody care to second it? Thank you, Scott. Any discussion? If
Your Honor, are we going all three in one shot?
no, separate. So roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. The next resolution is the approval of a separation agreement with Matt Harrington. If somebody would care to make that.
I'll offer that.
I can second
Thank
that.
you, Laura. Thank you, Laurel. Any questions? If not, roll call.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. The next resolution is a separation agreement with Devin Riga. If somebody would care to make that resolution.
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Scott. Would somebody care to second it?
I'll second.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions? If not, roll call.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda
Your,
is...
Your Honor, can I take just a moment or a point of order? Is that all right?
Yep.
Your Honor, I want to thank Troy Hauge, Matt Harrington, and Devin Rieger for their service to this city. I think they did exemplary work. I've known a couple of these individuals for a long time. I think this city owes them a debt of gratitude. I think many of them, if not 2 of the 3 of them, would have ended up in front of us here one day receiving a retirement plaque from Len Taylor. And I think it's important to recognize that service tonight as they're leaving our establishment and our government jobs here. And what I'd like to do, and if the council would be willing to do it with me, I'm going to give them a round of applause for their service to our city, and I hope the council will join me in doing that. Thank you for the time, Your Honor.
No, thank you for those kind words, Mike. You know, and in this process, the employees was paramount and making sure they land in a good place. And I know one of them has already accepted a position in more engineering, will continue to work on city projects. The next item of business is the resolution appointing Kyle Mayer as the city engineer, so he will become the representative. And I should ask Andrew to speak to it.
I'll offer that.
Thank you. Well, yeah.
I'll second it first.
Oh, okay. So Laurel and Jim, over to Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Members, we met Kyle here just a second ago, but the action before you tonight is a resolution appointing Kyle Meyer as the city engineer. We do need one individual that's appointed as the city engineer for the purposes of things like state aid and various statutes. Kyle, as you all know, is in the audience this evening, and we'll look to him for maybe just a few more comments in a minute. But I also just want to touch on the fact that More Engineering, while they're naming Kyle and the council's naming Kyle as the city engineer, they're putting a whole team together to represent the city and to work on city items. To create redundancy and ensure there's no impact on service if Kyle's ever allowed to take a day off or can't be in the office, they've also dedicated an assistant city engineer, Josiah Rosted, who's a PE. He'll work closely with the Fergus Falls team and specializes on the utility side of things. Troy Hauge, one of the employees that we just honored this evening, will serve as part of this team and will work very closely with city projects starting next Monday already. So we joked with Troy that on a lot of things we'll just have to change the final 4 digits of the phone number, but the transition really will be seamless. They're also including Darren Feldbaum, who is a professional engineer, as part of the team, and he'll focus on the transportation side of things. He has extensive experience with roads, bridges, and state aid funding, as he was previously the Wadena County engineer. And then both Tyson Hychek and John Pana, who are professional engineers, they're the two that are flanking Kyle's left and right side. They'll also be involved just about daily, and you'll see a lot of them over the coming months and years, as they're going to be very hands-on and bring that team approach, collaborative approach to the city. We're going to have a lot of engineering resources at our disposal going forward. So again, the action tonight is appointing Kyle as the city engineer. Kyle will then be very visible to the public. He'll be at council meetings, he'll be at our internal staff meetings, and he'll be the point of contact for anybody that has engineering questions or issues related to the city of Fergus Falls going forward. Kyle, I don't know if you want to talk about yourself any more than you already have, but this is a good opportunity for that.
Thank you. City Council, Mayor, my name is Kyle Meyer with More Engineering. I've just give you a little bit of background on myself. I've been with the company for 26 years, been doing municipal engineering for that time. I've acted as the city engineer for a number of communities in Minnesota, in North Dakota, helping communities plan for the future, really help find funding and financing to put packages together, and really look at what are the things we should be doing as a community from a planning standpoint, looking at the different infrastructure and why it should be replaced. Councilman Layton, when you asked the question earlier about the lead service lines under a street that we're looking at replacing, those are the types of things that I like to look at and analyze and understand what are the issues underneath the street before we fix the street. So trying to make our dollars within the community be spent as efficiently as we can. So again, I'm very honored to be here tonight and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Kyle? If not,
I guess one thing, we met with the whole team last week, and I guess like Andrew listed, everyone exemplarily, and I mean just really good people that were able to answer our group's questions. I hope Al and Anthony and Andrew felt the same way, but I just really impressed with the team that you've put together.
Thank you.
thank you. With that, roll call.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is the presentation of claims in the amount of $1,297,789.09. And with that, I think Bill just wishes to say a couple of words about, obviously, where we're at on this process.
Thank you, Your Honor. As you can see, you have a different list of claims in front of you than we have seen, I know, in my entire time with the cities. And Jim, you've been here a long time.
Yes, they're much smaller. You need
Put those bifocals on. So we are in the process of switching to a new IT system. We have been working on the payroll side, getting that going live, the cash receipting. So we actually started receiving funds into the new system, accounting for it at the front desk this morning. And of course, accounts payable, here's our first one tonight. Then we'll get into the general ledger and all the accounting stuff, getting all that switched. But getting the money coming in and the money going out was where, of course, we start. So our staff was still working on this morning, getting this ready. That's why it was not in your packet. It'll go back to normal as far as getting in your packets as we come to the future council meetings. But on those, the actual cutoff days, not able to, to get that until we emailed it out to you and put it on your desk today. So this format, it's sorted by fund. Sandy and I are going to look at, maybe there's other ways to format this that we want to look at. But right now, it breaks it out by where it's coded everywhere. That's why you're going to see things kind of jump around in there, because Sandy and I know as we're reading through it, okay, we're starting at the council level and going through police department. In account number order is basically what's this sitting at tonight. We'll see. We're going to look at our different options, but just wanted to let you know we're in the throes of getting that system changed over. We'll be doing that all summer long. But so new resolution for you here tonight, new format. So
I'll make the resolution.
Thank you, Mark. Would somebody care to second it?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. So, any questions of Bill? If not,
I enjoy the new format.
with that, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. There is no old or unfinished business or new business. The next item is 2 minutes for council comments, and we'll start with, I think, Councilmember Rachel's.
I'm going to stick to what I've been going along. I just found out that I won't be here for the first, I can't think of the name now. Our
Town Hall.
Town Hall. And I won't be, I'll be in Kansas City for Elks Convention, but I just want to encourage, we've been talking about this all along, I've been getting phone calls about it, I just want to encourage people to come out and just really get after this and give us a direction or what people are thinking, and it's time to be heard.
Thank you, Scott.
Your whole 2 minutes?
That's it.
Okay.
It yields to.
I guess. I won't take
Councilmember,
extra.
yeah.
First of all, thank you to all the city staff for the pool opening today. It was wonderful to be over there, exciting when all the kids were squealing when the slides turned on after the remarks, and just really wonderful work there. So commending the city staff and everyone that put work into that. Also echoing what was said earlier about these engineers that are separating from us at this point. They've been integral here and have done really good work, and that is appreciated. And then the final thing is, and I don't know how many different council members got this letter, but received a letter from Dwight Moore, who is the president of the Lake Region Amateur Radio Club. And I had a nice conversation with him Saturday evening. And I just want to let the public know that on Saturday, June 28th, starting at 1 p.m. through Sunday morning, June 29th, they are going to be set up for their field day out at the Otter Tail County Historical Society. And they're really excited about telling people about what they do as an amateur radio club. And I would encourage anyone in the public that has interest or wants to know what that is exactly to work your way out to the Historical Society and talk to him. Dwight was a really nice guy, and I'm guessing that his group has more of the same and would love to talk to you about what they're doing.
Thank you. Jim?
Yes. Well, you stole my thunder on the pool. There was a great bunch of people out there today, and the kids were just having a ball. They opened it up and they were in the water right now. In fact, when I got there at about 11 o'clock, 11:15, there was a young man standing outside, and he says, "I've been waiting for 2 hours," he said. The other thing that's happening today is they're breaking ground at the Humane Society. So they're finally getting that off the ground too. So we'll have a grand opening there probably next spring. So things are happening here in Fergus Falls.
Thank you, Jim. Laura?
All right. Right off the heels of talking about the Humane Society, I just want to mention that I have had a few people reach out, so I'm just going to talk about this. But as dog lovers, we know our furry friends bring a lot of joy, but they also leave behind little gifts. So can we please remember to clean up after our dogs? We love them, but I've had a lot of calls lately, so that's what I wanted to mention.
Thank you. Scott?
I'd also like to commend the staff on the pool. I was at the opening again today with many of the rest of you, and it really was fabulous. Thanks to Uncle Eddie's for providing ice cream for many that were there. And I don't know who the sponsor was that brought the little balls. Was that a city thing or was that a sponsor? That was a city thing. And who blew up all those balls? Did you blow up?
100%.
Way to go.
It was 125?
Little beach balls, and they were all over the place, and everybody got a little gift if they were able to take one of those with. It was a fantastic morning. The sun was shining, and it was really a terrific takeoff. And what I found myself thinking after just a few minutes, and everybody's in the water, and it's just going crazy, I thought, well, it looks like it's been here forever already. Just immediately it was accepted, and you didn't have this sense of it being new, even though it was only 10 minutes old. It was really, really cool. I just thought it was amazing how it was just really good. And thanks again to the staff. This whole engineering thing, I think that you've done a terrific work. It was a lot of work. There's a lot of back and forth on it. But again, I want to commend the staff on their work to pull this thing together in light of a really difficult amount of turnover in the staff in this last several months. And I think this has worked out well for the city, and I'm looking forward to the days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
I'm a little bit more prepared this week, Your Honor.
Good.
The council's blind approach. Some members of this council and prior councils have taken a blind approach. They believe a commission, a committee, a staff, administration, and/or mayor recommendations are in the best interest of the city. These council members would take a direction, let's say, from a hallway conversation and rely simply on that. Meetings were an hour long prior these committees. Simply assuming that these groups had the ability and understanding and unbiased information to best represent the people. Let's remember, it's the council's responsibility to direct the administration, not another body. Not one on the council may do so. So let's be fair. 2 points of view are better than one. I don't have all the answers, and the committee may not have all the answers. The lack of direction and blind reliance on staff is a true breach of the duties of this council. This council, this has a cost to taxpayers. This has cost the taxpayers tens of millions of dollars over the last decade. Some of which we could agree were necessary, some which were poorly spent. Primarily, as Mr. Brums has pointed out on this engineering package, we could have saved tens of millions of dollars. The new energy of this council must be properly directed to do the business of the city, and it's the only body empowered to do so. It's not the committee, it's not the subcommittee, it's not a commission, administration, nor the mayor. I will direct this council the best to serve the citizens and taxpayers of this city. I will not take the easy blind approach.
It's your 2 minutes, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
Al?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say also thank you to Troy, Matt, and Devin for all their work. To be in a place for so long and no longer be here. Thank you. This is not an easy decisions. These are people's lives. I wish them well. Also, too, I would like to thank Naomi for being involved with this, the sculpture walk. This was done on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Kim had called me, invited me, but I had a commitment that day. Naomi's done a lot of work in this community. And at least raise your hand if you won't stand up. So I think let's give her a little hand, everyone. I'm a firm supporter of the arts in this city and in any city. So thank you very much for what you do. This is a coloring book that was put out of all the different pieces of art. So I think some of you, if not all of you, have this. I think it's, Mark, you can work on this tonight. And I just wanted to say thank you to her for that. I'm very excited to get on this next road of getting an economic director so we can move forward in this city with some new ideas and some great direction. That's what I'm really looking forward to now. And I think as soon as we can, let's get this process going so we can make some changes and some differences for the people of Fergus Falls. So I'm very excited about that. And thank you for letting me speak. And I have one more thing to say. Happy anniversary to my wife. It's our anniversary today. So happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I have to follow that.
Yes.
Seriously. I'm going to be very brief, Your Honor.
You better something good.
Happy birthday, happy anniversary to my wife and everything else in between. I appreciate her very much. Should I go on? No. I just want to say thank you to all the citizens that reach out to me and support the decisions that I make. They know the hard work that goes into it. When I'm looking at things as a council member, I'm looking at them as deep as I can for a lasting effect on the community. And so I appreciate that support. I'll echo Al Krahmeyer's comments on economic development. I've had many individuals reach out and say, hey, that was a great win for the city. And I know a lot of people don't feel that way, but I think as a council we did. And so I'm looking forward to that as well. But thank you to everybody, and thank you for the hard work of this council.
Your Honor, just one thing. Happy birthday to my wife today. Same day as Al's. Happy birthday, hon.
I'm glad you
I had to do that. I had to do that.
Yeah. So my wife's birthday is tomorrow, so do you want me
Can
to
do whatever you want, sir.
as well as her sister? Yeah, so, yeah.
Your Honor, I would like to hear your 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think overall, I think we're moving in the right direction. We got a lot of positive things going on, as kind of reiterated here tonight. I think we have a couple of job descriptions that we're merging for the economic development director. I believe that this engineering is going to be a positive thing for the city. More has a scope that we would have a hard time to duplicate internally in terms of the fields that they cover. We met with Senator Rasmussen today, which was a positive meeting. The one thing that he did reiterate is that we, as a community, have often had grants that we haven't expedited on or executed on. And that's one of the things. We do have a grant for the dairy property to put a trail and rail crossings in, and we need to get that done. Because that land, technically at this moment in time is worthless because there's no access to it. So if we ever want to put houses on there, we've got to get that done. The market will open this weekend. As Al mentioned, the art walk was a great success on Saturday afternoon. Thank you to Naomi and Kim for doing that, and thanks to the Verdeen Trust for funding it. And I think there was a lot of excitement about it, and a lot of people physically did the walk and looked at the pieces. And I think it's become a communicating point for people walking downtown. Obviously, we mentioned the aquatic center, but we should not forget the splash pad. The splash pad opened as well today, and that is another great asset of the city. Obviously, we're still working on D Lagoon. and hopefully that probably will be the next grand opening that we can attend. But it's going to be later in the year, just so that people don't get too excited. The grass does need to get established, and depending on the summer and obviously how much wind and rain we get, that grass, if we don't allow the grass to take hold now, then it'll be a mud field. So the other announcements are obviously June 11, Committee of the Whole, June 16, City Council meeting. June 19 is closure in observation of Juneteenth. So Thursday's garbage and recycling will be moved to Wednesday, and Fridays will be the same. And then, as Scott mentioned, obviously the June 30th is the first town hall meeting in this room. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.